Welcome back everyone to J-Face Games. Today we're going through character design. We're going to design a quick party with the current rule set as is for this J-Face RPG. So let's just get right into it. So what you need to understand for the character design are just a couple of nomenclature things. If you're not used to this system, or if you haven't kind of gone with me on this journey, what I'm just going to really quickly depict here are these are the dice, D12, D10, D8, D6, and D4 that we're going to be using as our attributes. And then over to the right, what you'll see is that if there's an A in something, that in essence means advantage if you're used to the 5e system. But advantage before a die, that A before a die, means that it's not that you're just doubling the dice. You're rolling whatever dice you normally roll plus whatever dice is next to the A, and then you're taking the higher roll of those two. Same with D, that's the equivalent of sort of disadvantage, and you're going to be rolling whatever that dice is plus your die, and you're going to be taking the lower. So let's go ahead and get rolling. All right, so we're going to make a party real quick, and let's go ahead and start with the first member of our party. What you'll see here, just to kind of orient you with this character sheet, is that you're going to have your 6 attributes: Defender, Striker, Marksman, Controller, Leader, and Mystic. In essence, that's what you kind of can do in combat or in a scenario. And then the hero die is a representation of sort of what tier you are in the character's journey, right? So if you're used to like 4E, there was Heroic, Paragon, and Epic level tiers. Same kind of thing here. You're going to have a D6, a D8, and a D10 tier. It might be D4, D6, D8. We'll play around with it. So anyways, this individual has 10 stress. That's their hit points. They have a heroic tier dice of D6. That'll come in later when we actually simulate a scenario. And then right now they have D4s for everything else. Well, let's name this character. It's going to be Josen. And Josen is going to be a buccaneer. Right now we're changing things up, and this was in a couple videos back that we're saying that this setting is very much a steampunkish setting where your party has a flying airship. So everyone kind of has a class role that is similar to that sort of setting. All right. Being a buccaneer, we're going to say that he has a defender, a striker, and a controller die that this individual has decided to rank up as a D6. And then just giving him some powers, we're going to say this individual has climbing. You know, they climb the riggings, so they have advantage D8 with their climbing. They have a shield, and a shield gives them advantage D4. A cleave, which in essence they get to take 2 strike actions, but they take a stress. And then finally they have something called brutal strike. I don't know what this does yet, but it sounds cool and it sounds like something they would have. So let me give you an idea of some of the things that are going on in just this character sheet, right? So if I were going to do anything like a skill check, if it were in combat, I would be using whatever the die is for that attribute. So if I'm a defender and I'm trying to block against something or defend a friend, I'd be using a D6 for this character against whatever the pressure dice is for this scenario or that encounter at the moment. Now, if I'm doing something that involves any other sort of skill check, I'm going to be using my hero dice unless I have a power that tells me I can use something else. So in other words, if this character didn't have the climbing ability, they would just be using a D6 to try and climb something if it were something that needed a check, right? If it's a rope ladder, they just climb it. Don't be a jerk of a DM. But if it's a rope ladder and they're being attacked and the wind is gusting, they'd have to roll a D6 against the pressure die. Well, Josen here is good at climbing. It's one of the attributes he has, or one of the skills he has. So he would roll a D8 and a D6 and take the higher roll. Now the shield, I thought this was a neat way of using shields. So in essence, if he has his shield out, it just gives you an extra D4 bonus, which is just kind of nice. So his defender is a D6, but he gets to roll a D6 and a D4 whenever he's doing his defense check. So he has both of them, and he takes the higher of those two. And then I don't know what Brutal Strike is yet. I wanted to throw some things in here that would kind of challenge me and make me think about some stuff later on. All right, who else is joining this party? Well, we have this gentleman, and this is Caleb. Now, Caleb is a Skald. Now, what's going to happen with the Scald? Scald is kind of bardish, but also sort of a little bit more melee, I would assume. So we're going to say he's defensive in nature. He's trying to help the people in the he's trying to help the people in the party. He's got a little bit of leadership, and he's also kind of mystical, right? So he's got some extra powers. So let's say this person, one, is a little bit more of, it's a bardish type person, so he knows some stories, he knows some history. We're also going to say that he's good at tracking. Why? I don't know. I like to mix things up. I don't like to have, once again, the character design. There might be classes, but those are just going to be suggestions. Like if you take this class, these are the things that go with it. You don't have to take it. So any skills that are available, take. So Caleb, he's good at tracking. Bolster, so some sort of ability where he can think of like bardic inspiration, something that's going to happen to help out the team or help out an individual in the team. And then abjuration. This is, I think that when you take the mystic, because the way spellcasting works in this game, that it's very open-ended, there will be different types of powers in the feat skills that you'll have to take if you want to be able to describe an ability of that sort. So for Caleb, if he wants to be able to do something like put some sort of like, I'm going to use 5e terms, but put some sort of stone skin on someone or use a shield ability, that's abjuration, right? That's some sort of like abjuration effect, right? And right now I put abjuration, we might switch it up. Who else is joining this party? Well. All right, this is Tristan. Tristan is a privateer. Privateers are, I'm thinking a little bit more paladinish, but without the magic. So they're frontline defender leaders type. That's a lot of defenders though, so let's see what this person's doing. So defender, a very strong defender, and a leader. So this is much more of the actual tankish type person in the party. Josen's probably going to be off doing his own thing, bouncing around. Tristan's definitely going to be the frontline shield of sorts. What else has Tristan got? Well, diplomacy. All right, if this is your privateer, the person who's going to be leading the party, let's make sure they're good at talkie. They're wearing heavy armor. I decided to throw this out there where it's two things. So with the heavy armor, you get a +1. Now, +1 to defense is awesome early on in the game, right? Versus advantage. Now, +1 kind of gets weaker later on, but that kind of makes sense. Like heavy armor should be a huge boon early on in a party or an adventurer's life, but later on, you should be... your skill set makes you better. Like, there should be other reasons why you're really good at defense. But then I also put stealth D4. So what this means is if you're wearing heavy armor, if you ever have to make a stealth check, not only... so normally for Tristan, he's not skilled in stealth, so he would just use his hero die. But because he's got heavy armor, when he tries to make a stealth check, he has to roll a D6 and a D4 and take the lower. Which is brutal. That means the highest he's going to get is a 4, technically. All right. Anything else? Rally. So this is going to be more of a group sort of leadership type ability, whereas Caleb might have leadership with bolster. That might be like a single target. I'm going to make you really good right now. Rally might be let's get the whole party on board, right? A-team style, like Face or Hannibal. All right. What else do we got? Ooh, we've got Galleon. Galleon's coming in, and Galleon is actually our swashbuckler. Now, Galleon's ability is going to be much more of that a dexterous individual. So Galleon has massive striking ability, decent marksman ability, nothing else. So this is our heavy hitter, right? This is the person who's going to be shooting from a distance potentially and really getting in there and dishing it out. Now, what's going to help Galleon is very stealthy. What else is going to help Galleon? Lucky. I don't know what this does yet, but we're going to find out. Lucky's probably going to be some sort of like, I don't know, you get like a D10 you get to use once a day or something in place of any other die. Who knows? And if you have Lucky, it's a D10 once a day, but if you fail with it, you retain it, right? So, I mean, using that D10 and say you roll a 1 on it, that's going to suck. So if you fail with your Lucky, you get to keep the Lucky die, and later on you're going to use that D10 again. So we'll go with that for now. That sounds kind of cool. Danger Sense, no idea what this is, but it sounds something like Galleon would need. And then Tough as Nails. So the nice thing is that Galleon decided, you know what, I'm not going defense, and I don't have control, so I'm I'm going to need something to help me. I can't just rely on Tristan, you know, and Josen trying to defend for me. So I'm gonna have to be tough as nails, and so tough as nails is gonna be some sort of weird, you know, power or feat or something, and we'll see what it does. I don't know yet. And then finally we have our last character. Who's this? This is Libras. So Libras, or Libras. Libras is the Sky Lord. And what's a Sky Lord? I don't know. In my head, the Sky Lord's like, if you've read Wheel of Time, there's those individuals that had the wind controllers, wind finders, I think they were called. And they were the ones that kind of pushed the boat along. I kind of like that idea that maybe you have a Sky Lord on your boat because they can kind of man the sails and use powers to kind of control the sails, right? So Libras is going to have Striker, Marksman, and Mystic. So whereas Caleb was a Mystic and was more of a leader, defender type Mystic, this is a Mystic who's going to be just trying to do damage. This is a damaging Mystic. Now the problem is, looking at this party, Josen's the only controller, so we might switch some stuff up later. Maybe Caleb, instead of doing defender, leader, Mystic, he's going to do controller, leader, Mystic. I actually like that. So prepare for that to change for Caleb. What else does Libras have? Arcana. So the arcane knowledge sort of checks. Libras is all over it. Wind Elemental, this is the same as Abjuration. This is the idea that now, because Libras has that, when Libras uses his Mystic dice, he can then describe controlling wind in some way. Same with Lightning Elemental. And then that's it. Oh. And same with Lightning Elemental. He can now control wind and lightning. So this is the party. This is a quick design. Imagine a massive list of different powers, feats, whatever you want to call them. Feats, powers, skills, a massive list. And in essence, it's a point buy system where you're going to be able to buy potentially extra stress, but I like capping it at 10, to be honest. I think 10's just nice. I like the idea that I saw both in EZD6 and in other games where it feels much more intense when you have such a limited amount of stress. Now, that being said, there's going to be tons of ways to mitigate stress to make sure you don't get hurt, but that's part of the game where it's like when stress does get through, it really hurts, like it really sucks. But I think this is the party. So the next video I'm going to have is I'm going to talk about a little bit more of the campaign macro, and then we're going to have an encounter. So get ready to see this group in action. All right, guys. Don't forget to hit the bell, subscribe, leave some comments.